Hello. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good afternoon. Good morning, depending on what part of the world you are watching me from. How are you? I hope you had a nice weekend. I had a very lovely weekend. Thank God. It's another Monday, and I'm sorry I kept you waiting for about 3, 4 minutes. I'm so sorry, some technical hitch because I know some of you might have been waiting that I should be on at exactly 6 o'clock. Well, how are you doing? For those of you who are watching for the first time, my name is Tony Ogunbanjo, and this program we are talking on today, it's a chat show. Let's share it. It's a talk show organized by a charity, Listening Ears. And for those who are watching for the first time, who probably don't know much about Listening Ears, I'll give you a very quick brief about who we are. Listening Ears is a charity organization, an award-winning charity organization that has been set up in the Royal Borough of Greenwich for 14 years now, still counting by His grace. We started in 2006, and the vision is born out of heartfelt concern about the level of isolation that goes on in our society. And we believe that if people find somebody to hear to share their challenge with. They say a burden shared is already half solved. So we set up this charity in 2006, providing emotional health and lifestyle support service to members of the community. And in the course of the 14 years, we've been able to set up about 4 or 5 different projects, because what we do basically is we are very sensitive to the needs in the community. So when we identify any need, we try to set up a project to address that particular need that we have identified. And we have our passion around 3 different main areas, which informs the areas where we look for needs and gaps and set up projects to meet those needs. And our 3 areas, I'll quickly tell you. The first one is about reducing isolation among the elderly and the over 50s. And our second area of passion is about supporting and empowering and nurturing young girls along their journey onto womanhood or to adolescence. And then our third area of passion is about enlightening and empowering local members of our community to take very small steps of change towards achieving improved health and total well-being. And so around these 3 areas of passion is what we have centered all our projects on. So I'll tell you quickly about the projects we run in the community. The first one is the Rosebud Center for Girls, which is a space for girls just to be girls, find a space to express themselves, find a space to get support, to have a chat, and just talk about girly things. And they receive support to just become who they are, they've been designed or created to become. So they receive that support through our workshops. We run different workshops. We run workshops around building their skills, international skills, vocational skills like jewelry making, fashion design, music, drama, arts and craft, cookery. We do different. We just run workshops that will empower them, so much so that at the time any of them want to answer that word woman, they're actually ready psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically, and domestically. So we equip them with all the skills of life that they need to be able to answer that role of womanhood in an appropriate and an effective way. And once every year, we take them away on a residential trip. Usually we go for at least 1 week. If it's not because of the corona this year, I think now about this time last year, actually on the 30th of August last year, we just came back from Lancashire. If there was no pandemic, we would have gone again, because we usually go during the summer holidays. We go for 1 week so that throughout that 1 week, they're able to learn a lot of skills, interactive skills. It's a very good experience, particularly for girls who haven't left their homes before, and they will have to relate with other girls that they are not necessarily related to. They might not even have met them before, but we put them in groups and they see, they learn the skills of living together with people you don't necessarily know or you don't necessarily agree with, but then you now learn the skills of relating with people, even in an environment that is not a regular one. So this year, unfortunately, we weren't able to take them for the trip, but we are trusting God. Next year is just around the corner. So I'm trusting God that next year we will be able to take them to the trip. This last year was so interesting. We had 32 girls we took on the trip to Lancashire. It was a lot of work, trust me, a lot of work, but it was very rewarding because the girls had a lovely time. They gained a lot of skills. We had very beautiful feedback from the parents that when the girls came back, those of them who weren't even getting involved in doing stuff in the kitchen before, now they can cook, they can support mommy at home, they can be a big sister for their little ones, which is very fulfilling. So that is our joy in spite of all the challenges of the hard work. So we thank God that at the end of the day, the hard work paid off. Now, our second project is our project we run for the elderly people to reduce isolation, and we call that the Feel Good Centers. At the moment, as I speak with you, we have two of such centers. We have the first one that is situated in Abewood, which started 11 years ago now, still counting. And the second one is in Thamesmead. That's just 2 years old last June. And the vision is to establish a feel-good center in different areas of the country because we want to make sure that elderly people, wherever they are located, they have a space to chill out and come around somewhere to make friends, have a chat, have a laugh. They have a cup of tea or coffee, they play games, they have their refreshments, they have their lunch. Every once in a month, we give them a very hot buffet, which is lovely. And then we take them on a seaside trip every year. Last year we were in Brighton last year, which was very beautiful. Thank God for corporate sponsor, Annington Limited. I use this opportunity to say a shout out to Annington Limited and to say thank you because they sponsored our seaside trip last year. And they not only did that, they also, towards the end of last year, they donated a minibus, a 17-seater minibus for us, which is very handy and very helpful. I mean, in all this time of the pandemic, that is what has helped us to go around the houses of our lovely elderly people to say hello to them and to give them food packs and the different needs that they have. We get this, and our lovely driver and Kim, who is the coordinator of the project, they go around to see them to drop off their needs and we attend to them. So I will use this opportunity to invite those who have elderly people at home. We are online. We run on Zoom. The programs are running on Zoom, the drop-in sessions. We still do our exercise on the Zoom every Wednesday and every Friday. And it starts at 12 o'clock. So if there is anybody that you want to join us, they are welcome. You can give us a phone call or you go on our website or send us an email. You can send an email to help@listeninghears.org or feelgoodcenters@gmail.com. Otherwise, if you go on our website, listeninghears.org, you will find information there that you can click on and your elderly person can join the program. The same thing for the Girls Project. Our workshops are running online. So if you have any girl between the ages of 7 and 16, you can go on our website. You will find the registration forms there. You can register and you can register your girl, and then one of the members of the team will get in touch with you and take you through the due diligence of discussions and all that, and every check we need to do so that we make sure that we are protecting the interest of our girls and our own back as well. Yeah, those are the, then was, of course, we have this project, Let's Share It, which is our talk show, because there is always a lot of questions people are asking. And we believe that on a platform like this, we can share ideas, we can share opinion. And like I always say, I'm not a custodian of all the knowledge. I'm very open to learn from you guys, because I know out there are so many of you who are very well more learned than me, particularly in all these areas that we talk about. Because since we talk about well-being generally, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nurse, but I'm a health trainer. So I support people to explore how they can improve their health and their total well-being. So within the scope of the knowledge that I have, and I'm also a counselor. So when we talk about challenges and issues, we can look at possibilities of what we can do to move forward with one's life. So this platform is there for you to ask your questions, and then we will provide as much information as we can to you. And we work with a lot of other organizations in the community, well-established organizations and service providers. So we kind of do some cross-referral arrangement, so that if there is a place where you can receive much more in-depth support, we can signpost you there, and vice versa. So feel free, if there is any question that is bothering your mind, why don't you let us share it? Because they say a problem shared is already half solved. So you don't need to carry anybody on your own. And if you look on our website, our slogan is sharing the burden and achieving positive changes. So we are happy to listen to your questions and to share it, and then we can move forward with it. Thank you so much for coming again. Last week we started on intermittent fasting, which over the weeks we have been talking about our health, basically the basic things for us to keep ourselves in top form with our health, particularly in these challenging times, because this pandemic period has been very challenging, and it is very key, very crucial, more than any other time, to be in top form with our health, to make sure that our immune system is performing at its peak, so that we are not susceptible to various kinds of infections. So we've spoken about physical exercise, we've spoken about quite a number of things on our different episodes, because this is episode 11. And last week we started talking about intermittent fasting as a kind of system that some people use in terms of controlling their weight or achieving a healthy weight. So I just call it a healthy weight management plan or healthy weight arrangement being put in place. So we spoke about intermittent fast last week. We started talking about it, but time didn't allow us to finish. I was only able to talk to you on one type of intermittent fasting, because I told you I did a lot of research about this, and I found and picked 3 different methods that I know are not really too complex and are very straightforward. And the 3 different methods are the one that is called 16-8, which I explained last week. 16-8 is the kind of intermittent fasting that allows you to have a window of 8 hours within which you can eat. And then you have another window of 16 hours where you need to rest. You need to rest your digestive system so that it can rest, and then it's some form of intermittent fasting that you can use in a bid to lose some weight, or to manage your weight, kind of, because it's not just about losing the weight, it's about getting into the habit of a healthy lifestyle or a healthy kind of a regime, so that continually, even when you lose your weight, you won't gain it back, because that is the most important thing. Because if you lose the weight and you gain it back, then it doesn't make any sense. So I spoke about that one last week, the 16-8 method. If you have any questions about it or anything that you don't understand, you can easily just type in your question, in the chat box, and I will be happy to give you answers to it. So, and I promised you last week that we are going to continue today on the on the other two types of intermittent fasting. And the second type is the one that I told you last week, is called eat stop eat, which I said I found it funny. I found that title funny when I was conducting my research, and I found it. But then the important thing is the information I found was very detailed, and was very interesting and very useful, and I found them handy. And I thought, because you see, the way I work is that when I find any information that I know that can be useful to other people, I want to share it. I don't want to keep it to myself, because that's not nice. I want to share it, because sharing is caring. So that second type is called eat stop eat. Other people call it the 24-hour plan. Now, sorry about that. The 24-hour plan of your fasting allows you to eat something every day. What I discovered about all the different types of fasting that I'm going to talk to you about is that they are not really too different from our regular way of living, but it's just about discipline. About discipline, discovering a particular systematic way that we want to do something, and then committing to it and keeping to it. It is just that discipline, because by the time I finish going through them, you will discover, okay, look at the one we spoke about last week, the 16-8-1. Because what that means is that you have a window of 8 hours to eat and a window of 16 hours not to eat. And last week I suggested about 3 different times that you can put your 8-hour window. You can put it from 10 to 6 in the morning. You can put it from 8 to 4. So if you did not just any ordinary fast, in fact, if there are days that you are not even fasting, but you have a lot of work to do, sometimes I don't know if it happens to everybody, but for me, many times, not that one forgets to eat, but you just don't. If you have so much work to do, sometimes you don't even feel hungry. But for me, generally speaking, the usual lifestyle that I live, once I wake up in the morning and I have all my aloe drinks, because I don't joke with that at all. I have my aloe first thing every morning. Once I have my aloe, after that, I have my smoothie. And once I have my smoothie, many times I don't even eat anything until about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock sometimes, because I just find that I am full. Maybe because I have kind of trained my system not to be able to just eat anytime, anyhow. Anyway, so for somebody who just want to do an 8-hour window of eating, that means for instance, if you took the option of, say, 10 to 4, 10 to 6, that's your 8 hours window where you can eat. So that means from 6 o'clock in the evening to 10 o'clock the following morning, you won't eat anything. I don't really see anything so difficult about that, to be honest. For me, I think it's just, in fact, if you allow me to say, it just looks like normal for me. But you see, the thing is, what will now make it effective for you in your weight loss management is because your system gets into a routine of a system of living. You see, because the thing is, your digestive system, you need to give it some rest. You need to allow the things that you eat, because a lot of times what usually causes problems of overweight and all sorts of digestive and other ailments basically is that because we don't regulate our lifestyle. People just, if we just eat anytime, if we drink anytime, if we sleep anytime, our body clock cannot work normally, because the way God has created our bodies, He wants us to regulate it and put a pattern to it. So all we need to do, because I like to make things very simple for people. People who are close to me, they know I don't like complicated things. When anything is too complicated, it's not for me. So I like things to be very simple. because maybe because of the kind of work I do, that I support people in taking very small steps of change. Because you see, the thing is, when something is simple, it is, number one, it is very easy for you to do, to practice. That's number one. Number two, it is very easy for you to commit to it. And number three, it is easy for you to stick to it. So you will not be frustrated, you will not be discouraged. But if it is too complicated and you have to do this and do that, and you have to starve yourself, you have to do things that are inconvenient, obviously it is not going to be very easy. And you know what? We are only human. By the time you do it for about 2 or 3 days, or a couple of max, maybe if you do it for 1 week, oh, you'll be like, I'm tired. Don't think I can really commit to this anymore. And then you just give up. So it's very simple, but about just keeping this consistent. I mean, you can even make it a way of life. You just discover that gradually your weight is coming down if you really needed to lose some weight. And then you keep on maintaining it like that, eating healthily, of course, because we'll come to that towards the end of this discussion, because you can't really just eat anyhow in your window of eating, because that also is about discipline, and it is about self-control, and it is about planning and management. So that makes that so simple. So this second one, that is the 24-hour plan, is such that you can eat something every day. For example, you can enjoy your evening dinner and eat nothing until the following dinner time, following day. I think it's just fine, because you can drink water during the day. I mean, you can do all different sorts. You see, there will be some kind of opportunities. Please don't get me wrong. There might be, even the information that I give you on this particular program, on this episode, there might be some in-betweens which we might be able to talk about on one-on-one, because there are also all sorts of things you can do. There is something like that is called fruit fasting. You can decide, particularly if you are somebody who is just trying to introduce fasting into your lifestyle, you can do fruit fasting, in which case you will just decide to live on fruits. And even when you want to do that, like I said, I believe in supporting people to take very small steps of change. You don't have to go all fruit for the day. You can start gradually. Maybe you can decide, for example, you know what, for the next 1 week, my breakfast is going to be just fruit. And you commit to it. Your system will get used to it. Once your system gets used to it, your body will start to enjoy the nutrients that you get from it. Trust me. And before you know what is happening, your whole system, your body clock gets used to that even when you want to eat something else in the morning for breakfast, it just wouldn't go. Trust me. Because you see, God has been so magnanimous with the way He has created us. He gave us this flexibility and this control. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Control to manage our lifestyle. Because all we need to do is just set it. It's like setting an alarm clock. You know, when you set an alarm clock, once that time clicks in the morning, whether you are sleeping or you are snoring, the clock has been set. The thing just goes on. Whatever kind of chime you put there, it wakes you up. So it's like setting our body on a kind of an alarm clock, on the kind of routine that we want it to live. And once we do that, it might take a couple of days, but the body gets used to it, and the body will respect the instructions you have given it, because God has given us power over our body. So if we allow our body to control us, then that's very sad, because that's not the plan of God at all. He wants us to be in charge, to control our body, and to give it the kind of style we want to do. Now, how this particular pattern promotes weight loss. This pattern, eat, stop and eat, which they call it, or 24-hour plan, the way it helps to promote weight loss is it does that in one or two ways. The first and most obvious one is the caloric deficit that occurs when you eliminate several meals a week. You know, if you do that, you will eliminate quite a number of weeks. So that means the calorie consumption you have is reducing. So that is one of the ways that you will be losing weight, because naturally, once the consumption of your calorie comes down, naturally your weight will come down automatically. And then the second method is the metabolic shifting, which is a new concept to most people, and I'll explain that now. The caloric deficit that we were talking, while there are several factors involved in weight loss, it remains true that consuming too many calories is only going to lead to weight gain, which is normal. And to lose weight, obviously, you must consume less. Many people find that intermittent fasting is a more sustainable way to reduce their caloric consumption than daily caloric deficit, because you see, I mentioned it last week, all this calorie counting stuff. Personally, and that is me, you are free to think what you like, but for me personally, I find it a little bit complicated, because number one, you have to understand how many calories is in each of the things that you are eating, which for me is a lot of work, unnecessary work. I have to start to calculate the calories, you have to start to add them together, you have to know whether you want to read it. For me, I think that is very complicated, so I love it simple. And once you skip, if you skip a whole meal, naturally you know that you have skipped that meal, and even your body will rest a little bit, and then the fat and everything and the calories you will have consumed ordinarily, if you ate that meat, that meal, that means you wouldn't pile on those calories. I think that's very simple enough, as opposed to trying to calculate how much calories that is involved, that is inside one particular food or not. And then some studies even show that it's a better way to lose weight due to the preservation of muscle mass and increased fat loss. This plan restricts calories just twice weekly, which can be far less stressful than caloric restriction at every meal. Now, the one I called metabolic shifting, when I try to find out what does that mean, it says it helps you not only to lose weight, but specifically increases fat burning, and may be induced by this kind of intermittent fasting protocols, where you abstain from food for a minimum of 12 hours, which is fine, which is also very simple. So with this one, the eat stop eat, and the 16 8 that we did last week, they are both very simple styles, so which you already have two options now, and you can always pick from either of the two, whichever one you prefer. And my research continues to say that normally the body runs on glucose derived from the sugars that are readily available when we eat 3 meals per day or more. So after 12 hours of fasting, it says the body burns through its stores of glucose and transitions to fat for fuel instead. When the body is waiting for you to have another food and the body didn't get it, what the body will do is just go to its reserve, which is already in your body. So what he already has there, he will go and convert those particular the store of glucose it has, will convert it to fuel, and then the body will use it to run. And the moment you do that 2 3 days, your body starts to understand and know that, what, I'm not going to have any food at this particular period of time. And then the body starts getting used to that. Before you know what is happening, all you just need is this routine, trust me. And before you know what is happening, you will get amazing results, trust me. Now, the third type, which is the third fasting type, is called the 5-2 plan. The 5-2 plan means that for 5 days in a week, you eat normally and you don't have to think about restricting calories. That doesn't mean you should overeat, because I don't want you to misquote me. You just eat normally for 5 days. And then the other 2 days, you reduce your calorie intake to a quarter of your daily needs. That's about 500 calories per day for women and 600 for men. In a day, a woman is allowed to have up to 2,000 calories, and a man is allowed to have 2,400 calories every day. So if you are doing this third type of intermittent fasting, which is called 5-2. For 5 days, you will eat normally, normally as in healthy eating. I don't mean eating junk. I mean eating properly for 5 days. And then for the other 2 days, you will now reduce what you want to eat by a quarter. So that means if, for example, let me look for quick ways to make the explanation. If, for example, your breakfast, if your breakfast is about 4 slices of bread, when you want to toast your bread for breakfast, and you normally consume 4 slices of bread, it just means that those 2 days you will consume only 1 slice of bread, which is a quarter. It's very simple, very simple. So you look at your portions, and you know what, for me, while I was actually studying this, not that I have done any of these systems before, but while I was researching about it, I learned a lot of things, and quite a lot. In fact, as I am speaking to you now, it is crossing my mind that it makes it so simple. And what just crossed my mind now, which I didn't even think about when I was preparing for this show today, is that it even helps you to do portion control. Because one of the key challenges we have that doesn't allow us to lose weight very easily is our lack of portion control. So if you decided to stick to this third type of intermittent fasting, which is the 5-2 plan, the 2 days that you are going to have a quarter of your regular meal allows you to start to practice portion control. Like when people discuss with me and they tell me, Toyin, is there anything wrong with our pounded yam? Is there anything wrong with us eating fufu? Is there anything wrong with us eating eba? Is it good? There is nothing wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with our African foods. The only issue is that we need to look at how much of it are we eating? What is the quantity? And how are we eating it? What are we combining with it? Because if you want to eat what we call swallow, maybe your pounded yam or your eba or your fufu or your amala, it's about having a very small portion and then with a lot of vegetables. It's not about having a portion as big as my head and then with very little vegetable and then put maybe about 6 pieces of meat. For goodness sake, that is completely unhealthy. It's just not on. So it's about portion control, which is a very crucial thing. In fact, for me, I like to it's topics like this sometimes it's seriously better on one-to-one, because a lot of things you cannot just give those instructions as a blanket instruction, because a lot of times it depends on where people are coming from. It depends on what exactly your situation is. For instance, somebody now who is probably diabetic or has high blood pressure, their needs and the systems that they will want to put in place might be different from other people. You know, for instance, somebody who is on medication, who probably have to take their medication with food. You can't tell the person not to eat throughout the day. How are they going to take their medication? So please, I don't want you to get me wrongly. What I am giving you on this show, they are just kind of guidelines. They are not like the rigid instructions or rules. They are just the guidelines that will guide you. But if you seriously want to embark on any of these types of intermittent fasting, please feel free to contact me. I will guide you through. So it will be a one-on-one support, kind of, because we want to look at, for instance, I'll just give that as a very quick example. If you are somebody who is on medication, who have to take your medication 3 times a day, and you have been instructed to take it with food, I cannot tell you to go on fasting for 12 hours when you won't be able to take your medication. But with somebody like that, maybe one of the ways I might start to work with you is about that portion control. Because once you can do the portion control, you'll be surprised. You only need to do this thing consistently and faithfully for a particular period of time. You'll be amazed how much difference it's going to make to you, how much positive difference it is going to make to you. So like I said, sometimes some of these things, some of these instructions, they are better off on one. But I'm just going to give you a very general guide. I'll call it guidelines, really. Not necessary. There are things that you will need to adjust here and there, depending on your situation, depending on your challenges, depending on what you are dealing with, depending on where you are at with your health and whatever health conditions that you have. But these things, this information I'm giving you will be a kind of a guideline to be able to determine how do you adapt it, because it's about adapting the information you have received to be able to benefit you. It's not about doing hook, line, sinker, but then to just get it as a guide, to get it as an idea. And then you too can get on Google and Google all these things. They are not information that is restricted at all. You can always find them. And then if you get to a point where you need any help, we are always here, always ready to listen. That's why we are called listening ears. Our ears are always open to listen to you. Now you can choose whichever 2 days of the week you prefer, as long as there is a non-fasting day in between. That means the 2 days that you are going to eat quarter of whatever you normally eat, they can't be 2 consecutive days. You can't make it Monday and Tuesday. You make it at least maybe Monday and Wednesday, or maybe Monday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Thursday, something like that. But you just make sure there is a gap in between. Left to me, I would have thought, because there are 7 days in a week, and that is 2 days that you want to, for me personally, that is a suggestion. It doesn't have to be what you are going to do. I would rather put 2 days in between, to be honest. So that means if I did my quarter calorie on Monday, I will do my normal on Tuesday, do my normal on Wednesday, and then do my second one on Thursday, so that I do normal one again on Friday, do normal again on Saturday, and then Sunday, and then on Monday. In fact, you know what, if you want to, then another thing you can do, if you decide to skip 2 days by eating normally for the 2 days, you might even end up over a couple of months, you will have done so. You now calculate by the week. You now calculate, there are 7 days in a week, which is not divisible by 2. So that over a period of about 3 or 4 weeks, you might have even done about 5 or 6 sessions, if that makes sense. For instance, if you started on a Monday and you made your quarter calorie days Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then you can have another one on Sunday, which means the following week has already started on a Sunday. Does that make sense? So that in 1 year, for example, there are 52 weeks in 1 year. Instead of having 52 batches, if we call 1 week a batch, you probably end up having about 54 or 56, which is very good for you. So it's so simple. So you skip not even skipping, this one you just eat a quarter of what you will have eaten naturally. Then it is important, I have said it actually, but I noted it down, that it's important to say that eating normally does not mean you can eat anything. If you binge on junk food, then you probably won't lose any weight. You may even gain more weight, because if you are not careful, I don't want you to say, Tony already said I can eat what I like. I mean, that is within reason, within moderation. What I mean is that you don't have to fast on that day. I don't mean you can eat any rubbish. You have to eat normally, eat healthily, and you just eat normally as if you haven't been fasting. You don't eat, because there are some people like I was racking a joke. I don't know whether it was last week or week before. I used to have a friend, when we say we are fasting, when she wants to break, she'll be like, you know what, I didn't eat breakfast, I didn't eat lunch. So when she's eating dinner, she'll probably eat what you will have eaten over 3 different meals, which doesn't make any sense. So because it's like you really didn't, that in fact that's binge eating, and that will even do some damage to the digestive system, because if you overeat, that even has its own, it has a lot of discomfort that it gives your body if you overeat. Apart from being overweight, if you overeat, you wouldn't be comfortable. You will have all sorts of tummy issues. Then the next information I want to give you is how to eat on those fasting days. There isn't any rule for what to eat as long as you eat healthily. Some people function best by beginning the day with a small breakfast, while others find it best to start eating as late as possible. So whatever works for you, like I said, what I am giving you here are just guidelines. You need to check out what works for your body or what works for your system. And the moment you find what works for you, then for goodness sake, just continue to do that. Generally, there are two meal patterns that people follow. Either they do three small meals, which is usually breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or they do two slightly bigger meals, which is only lunch and dinner. For instance, if you are the type who just, like I said, for me, in the morning I take my smoothie. Once I take my smoothie, a lot of times I really can't eat anything before 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And once I eat in the afternoon, that means I've skipped my breakfast technically. When I started to do this as a way of life, I didn't know I was doing some kind of intermittent fasting. Mine is what I would call maybe subconscious intermittent fasting. Because ironically, since I started this lifestyle, it means I only eat about twice in a day. Because if I eat my first meal at 2 o'clock and I eat another meal at about 7 or 8, of course I can't eat anything again until I go to sleep. So that means mine has been a kind of subconscious intermittent style of fasting. Maybe what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to study my style so much and then start to document. Maybe I should get a journal and document how I am doing it, so that that will be my own specific way of intermittent fasting, because it's working for me. Because I'm grateful to God. On a regular basis I'm losing the weight gradually, because I really want to make sure I slim down. Yeah. So it says that since calorie intake is limited, which is the 500 for women and 600 for women, then it makes sense that you use your calorie wisely, your calorie budget, use it widely. Then you need to focus on very nutritious foods that are like high in fiber, high protein foods that will make you feel full without consuming too many calories. Because if you eat proteins and you will be very full and it wouldn't be a lot of calories, because protein don't have too many calories like fat. So although intermittent fasting is very safe for healthy, well-nourished people, it still doesn't suit everyone. There are some people who, when I was doing my research, who should avoid the 5-2 intermittent kind of fasting. And those are people who have a history of eating disorders, or individuals who often experience drops in their blood sugar levels, or people who are pregnant. Obviously, when you are a pregnant woman, there are quite a lot of things you cannot do like other people do, except you seek help from your doctor, because your baby needs a lot of nourishment, so you cannot afford to be fasting. Then if you are a nursing mother and you are still breastfeeding, obviously your child needs a lot of nutrients from your breast milk, so you cannot afford to do intermittent fasting. And then children or people who have type 1 diabetes, they also can't do it. Then people who are generally malnourished, or people who are underweight, or people who have nutrient deficiencies, or women who are trying to conceive, or if they have fertility issues. You see, when you know that you have any of all those challenges, it is very crucial that you speak to your doctor before you start any of these programs, because it is very important that you get guidance from your doctor to make sure you are doing things right. And then the bottom line that I would say is that the 5-2 diet is a very easy, effective way to lose weight, and it improves your metabolic health, as many people find it much easier to stick to it than to a conventional calorie restricted diet. You see, the conventional one is always very challenging because you see, the thing is, particularly again, there is all sorts of information that is going on the internet. So if you don't really sit down to watch and kind of really do your research, you don't even know what to believe anymore. There are too many information going out there, and then you need to check. And then again, like I said, not all the things that you will find will be suitable for everybody. So one of the key things I am going to request that we do is to try and study our body, and know what suits us, because you need to study your body, know what your body is like, what your body tolerates, what your body reacts to negatively, what your body can easily just absorb. And while you have checked out all these things, then you try and base whatever system you want to embark on those kind of discoveries that you have made while trying to study yourself, because this is very crucial. Because we wouldn't say because Miss A did this particular intermittent kind of fasting and it worked for her, it's going to work for me. It may not. It depends on where both of us are coming from. It depends on the health challenges we are dealing with, and it depends on what kind of lifestyle we are living. So if you are looking to decrease your weight, the 5-2 type or any of the other two I have mentioned is definitely something to consider. All of the methods can be very effective, but figuring out which one works best for you will depend on you. You have to make your inquiries, you have to make your research, you have to study yourself, and you have to, over a period of time, record things that you discover about yourself, and then you'll be able to make a very well-informed decision about what exactly is going to work for me. But intermittent fasting, generally, it has become a healthy trend now that a lot of people are using, because it actually works to reduce weight and to improve your metabolic health, and perhaps even extend our lifespan. So that is the information I have been able to get together in the research I made for the 3 different types of intermittent fasting. So if you have any question, you can easily just type in your question in the chat box, or you send your question to me in an email to help@listeningears.org, or you send it to feelgoodcenters@gmail.com. I'd like to thank you very much for listening. I use this opportunity again to let you know that if you have any elderly person at home who is just on their own and they would like to make friends, regardless of the pandemic, we are running all our sessions online on Zoom. The elderly people, they are having a lot of fun. They are having their exercises, they are doing their interactive sessions and all that, and then they still enjoy their buffet because we still send them their food in their individual homes. Thank God to a lot of thanks to Annington Limited, who donated us our minibus, which is very helpful at this particular time to go around to the houses of our service users. And all the same again, if you have young girls between the ages of 7 and 16, we are also running our workshops online. You can check out on rosebudcenter.org. You will find you can download a registration form there for your daughter, for your niece, for your granddaughter, or for your sister. You can download it and fill it and email it. By a simple Word document. You can fill it up and email it back to us, and then one of the members of the staff will get in touch with you. So, I like to say thank you one more time for your time, and then I look forward to seeing you next week. I also want to use this opportunity to ask that as a charity, we are still, appreciative of people who want to volunteer for us. We need volunteers, particularly befrienders. We need volunteers who can support our Community Angels Befriending and Outreach Program. So if you have a couple of hours in your hands that you can spare to make life a little bit more meaningful for somebody, please kindly get in touch with us. You can send us an email on help@listeningears.org, and you can go on our website. You can also find the place to download the volunteer application form, which you can complete and send to us. Also, I like to say that we're happy to have more partners. We're asking you, we are requesting, because as a charity, we rely on the donations that we receive from good, well-meaning people like you. We have quite a number of partners as I speak. A partner is somebody who has committed to supporting us every month by direct debit, no matter how little it is. People are becoming our partners for at least as £5 a month. You just commit to giving us that, and trust me, it is going a long way. Your donations is doing a lot. It is allowing us to touch so many lives. So far, to the glory of God, we have touched so many lives positively since our inception in 2006. So that's 14 years now. We've worked with thousands of people, and by the grace of God, evidence of all the impact we are having in the community is reflected in all the various awards that we have been given, recognizing us for the great work we are doing in the community. So that tells you that your money that you are donating is going a very long way to support and to make a difference in the lives of people. So please, we will be grateful if you want to become our partner. You can contact us either by email, or you go on our website. There is a space there. If you click on the button donate, you can easily sign up to become a partner, and you can support us every month. And together, we will make our community a better place where nobody will be isolated, nobody will be left on their own, and everybody will be happy to share each other's problems. And that's because I really appreciate, your presence every Monday that you come around to join me here. So I like to say a very good night to you, and I look forward to seeing you next week, Monday. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Bye.